right, well now is time for, I'm going to say my favorite part of today's show and maybe my favorite segment ever. I get to interview one of my best friends in the world and my parish priest, Father Michel Del Penna. Father Mike, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you, Claire. It's an honor.
It's just been such a fun morning. We got to drive here together from St. Leonard's and listen to that song. What was that song that you liked?
I didn't even know it was on the radio.
It was that old rock song. That was a lot of fun. You're a good singer and you're a good dancer.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, I mean it. And you have some pretty exciting stuff happening at St. Leonard's, isn't that right?
Yes, I do. That's right. And thanks for giving me an opportunity to share it, a nice venue. So we're celebrating 150th year coming up. We have a big celebration planned. So our church was established 1873. So we're celebrating our sesquicentennial, and we're trying to do it up big. We're trying to make it something special that everyone can feel good about, because I do feel like people want to celebrate their faith. They want to have an excuse, in a sense, to look at all the beautiful ways that the Franciscan presence has been part of the neighborhood. So we're hoping to have like a 14-month-long celebration. It being St. Leonard, we thought, what more appropriate way to focus in on the way of the cross. So we're hoping that that's kind of like our structure that we want to hold the whole celebration on.
Okay, so it's 1 month per station?
Exactly,
Very
yes,
cool.
yeah. As you know, like St. Leonard of Port Maurice, he was the one who popularized the Stations of the Cross, which is really like essential when you think of Christ, you know, when you think of his life. What more powerful way to enter into our salvation history, if you will, in order to understand him, than to walk that journey. I remember one beautiful theologian, he was saying you could actually split up Christ's life into two parts. You know, one, all the things he did actively, you know, right from the very beginning, or his 3-year ministry, all of the healings, the preaching, everything like that. But then the one day when everything was being passively, that's where we get the word passio, being absorbed. And that's right from, you know, Thursday to Friday. And that's what saves us. So even more than the preaching, more than the healings, everything, it's that one day. That's why so many theologians and mystics say, if you want to know Christ really, look at that passion. That's going to give us like the heart, you know, and really it reveals the depth of his love. So this is a nice opportunity to share all of the beautiful spirituality, you know, of the passion that St. Leonard really was inspired to promote.
So what will those events that invite people in look like? Do you have a kickoff event?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We're really blessed. We have the Cardinal coming January 8th at 12 o'clock. So we're going to start with the...
Two St. Leonard's.
That's right, 2 St. Leonard's. And that's going to be our, you know, our big day when we're going to have like a little reception afterwards. And then what we're hoping to do is every fourth Sunday of every month, what I found out, a beautiful tradition that the Italian immigrants have, on the fourth Sunday of every month, what they would do is they would get together at 3 o'clock and pray the way of the cross. I didn't know that. I grew up in the North End. And then, of course, in researching and trying to get a little bit feel of, you know, what we could do over the course of the year, I thought that was a beautiful tradition. So we're trying to resurrect that and invite all of the groups that are in and around the North End, like the societies, the feasts, the St. Joseph, St. Anthony, to let them have a way that they could lead those stations and participate more communally together. So I'm hoping to do that.
And for those of you at home who don't know, our neighborhood, the North End, it's not a Italian neighborhood, it is the Italian neighborhood. So Father Mike, can you tell us a little bit more about how the neighborhood's Italian identity is going to come into play in the celebration?
Of course, I feel very blessed coming from that neighborhood. I grew up there, and for me, the warmth and the vibrancy I see in that neighborhood is always very welcoming. That's why I think people love to go down there. Who doesn't want to go down there and have a nice, you know, go in the restaurant, have a nice cannoli, walk around. And it's a beautiful place. It's the oldest neighborhood in Boston. It has such history. Paul Revere's house. We have the Old North Church. But of course, it's the people. You know, that's what makes the neighborhood. So there's a beautiful familial bond that we grew up with, you know, in the neighborhood. And I think that kind of is perpetuated. You know, I think that's something part of that Italian welcoming warmth. And I think when people come, they feel that neighborhood feel where they can all come together and they're accepted. And I think that family love, you know, that's something I cherish, having grown up there. I feel like that's been really cultivated, you know, in the neighborhood. So that kind of lends itself to our Franciscan spirituality really well, because, as you know, Francis was all about brothers and sisters, you know, recognizing that we all share the same Father. So our Franciscan presence over the last 150 years, I think, coincides, you know, really well together. It works, especially in that neighborhood, because Francis had that intuition, you know, to try to love each other like a real brother. You know, if I realize you're my sister, you know, and I'm your brother, then that bond, you know, I think helps us. It would change everything, right, if we all treated each other as brother and sister. So we're trying to celebrate that, and our kind of focus is building the future by honoring the past. So as much as we want to accentuate and, you know, affirm the legacy of the Franciscans for 150 years, what we really want to do is ensure that we're there for another 150 plus years, you know, so that we're trying to do some fundraising, which will allow us to restore, you know, our roof, get our Sacred Heart Church facade back in place, but more importantly, probably for our elderly population, we'll get an air conditioner in there. So that's a large, you know, chunk of our fundraising, so that we can make sure all of our parishioners, especially those whose, you know, the heat really bothers.
So if people want to get involved, which I'm sure they're going to, where can you direct them to? Is there a website? Is there that first event, January? January
8th at 12 o'clock on the Sunday Mass when Cardinal comes. And I would say we have a couple ways. You know, we have a St. Leonard Facebook page. We also have a St. Leonard Church website. Okay. And both of those can direct you to all of the events. We have our calendar in there. During the course of the year, we're trying to do a lot of fun things, like have a gala, we're having a dinner. We're inviting people to take the cross into their home, Claire. Mm-hmm. And this, I think it's nice in the sense it's not so much we have to go to church, but allow the cross to transform us right in our home. So we're hoping to share each week, invite a different person or a different family to come up and take the San Damiano cross and use it as a way to pray that whole week. Because again, that's like the center of our faith. You know, when you think of
Absolutely.
that, what St. Leonard wanted us to do is be transformed by it. So take all my burdens, all my worries, all my difficulties, bring them to the cross. That's our greatest sign of hope, mm-hmm. right? That his love was able to transform a symbol of torture into a symbol of salvation.
Well, it sounds like this is going to be a truly transformational set of events. So thank you so much, Father Michael.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.